to the Monday edition of Second City Sports. We're live in the living color right here on Sports Zone Chicago, along with my partner, Miss Lakeem McGee, which is she. I am Sydney Brownhead. That's me. You can follow yours truly on the Twitter, X, and the IG at SidKid80. Once again, it's SidKid80. That's SIDKID80. That's SIDKID80.
You can follow my Keita McGee on the Twitter, X at Keita the IG.
Make sure you download that Sports Zone Chicago app wherever you get your apps. Follow Sports Zone Chicago on all social media platforms on Facebook, Twitter, X, Instagram, and YouTube. Please subscribe to our podcast. We are located at War Media Podcast. That's WARR Media, PODCASTS. We are on all podcast platforms, including the iHeartRadio app. And while you're ready, please give War Media a follow at WARR Media on all social media platforms. And thank you very much in advance for your support.
Like, share, subscribe, and tell your friends.
We are unapologetic fun, and we have very definite opinions. If you have any definite opinions during our 2-hour extravaganza we call a Sports Talk Radio Show, you can find us at Sports Zone Chicago's Facebook page or at Sports Zone Chicago on YouTube. Type in those questions or comments in the comments section. Lakina will get them up on the screen for you. But you decide to troll and or do something silly, dumb, or stupid, I've given Lakina full powers to give you silly fools to Bill and Beer Boot. But before we begin, you can catch Sports Zone Chicago live in the living color on Roku TV. That's right. So celebrate with the squad and get with the program. Sports Zone Chicago is now available on Roku TV. If you already have a Roku television, just tap on the Sports World and download that Sports Zone Chicago app. If you don't have a Roku television, but you have some handheld devices laying around, iPhone, iPad, iTouch, your Chromebook, or your PC, just head up the Google Play Store and download the Roku TV app and access Sports Zone Chicago through that avenue. So no more excuses. Celebrate the squad and get with the program. Sports Zone Chicago is now available on Roku TV. 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year. Live and on demand.
Anytime, anywhere.
And you know we will provide.
And we'll be providing you with some of the best here on Second City Sports. Of course, we'll talk of course, the Justin Fields trade to the Steelers. We'll have our thoughts on that. The Bulls had a nice weekend. The rest of the weekend in the NBA. We'll preview, of course, women's tournament as well. Of course, the Blackhawks got a nice one yesterday against the Sharks. But still, we got a sports media icon with us. So let's introduce him.
Yes, he is the sports director at Weigel Broadcasting at WCIU TV in Chicago Channel 26. He's also a former NBA scout. He is a Chicago broadcasting legend. Let's please welcome him in his debut to Second City Sports, Mr. Kenny McReynolds. Kenny, how you doing, young man?
Well, thank you so much for having me. I'm not a legend. I'm just plain old Kenny. Thank you so much for having me.
No problem. You're a legend in our hearts. So let's start off with college basketball. Of course, March Madness will start tomorrow with the two of the 4 playing games, but the real tournament starts on Thursday. I want to get your thoughts on the local teams. Of course, Illinois made it to the tournament, and Northwestern is in as well. Out of the 2 teams in our state, which team would you give the best chance to advance in this tournament? How far do you think that both teams can go?
Okay, I lost you for a minute there. I think your question was, out of the 2 teams in the state, who would go the furthest? I think
yes.
I think Illinois. Northwestern got a really tough draw for the first game. I'm not sure they can win their first game. But I think Illinois, especially the way they play defense, I can see Illinois easily get into the Sweet 16.
Now, what do you think is going to be the key for Illinois to get far? I mean, we know Terrence Shannon Jr. had a great Big Ten tournament play. I think he ended up winning most valuable player honors, but I think Coleman Hawkins is going to be the key. What do you think?
Oh, I agree, because if you key on Shannon Jr., somebody's got to step up, and that person has to be Hawkins. Very, very good analysis right there. But I like the way this team, when they want to play defense, they were down by 10 points in the second half yesterday. When this team played defense, they're really good because they can score. The offense will be there, but they can really score. But when they shut you down defensively, it's a pretty good team.
In your opinion, how much pressure is head coach Brad Underwood is under? Because we know the last couple years, the Illini had better rosters on paper, but they bowed down in the opening round of the tournament. How much pressure do you think is on him for this Illinois team to do well in the tournament this year?
I think there's always pressure, no matter what you do. I think that he's under pressure, but I think that's a good thing, because when you're not under pressure, you're not relevant. So we expect a lot from Brad Underwood and this Illini team. I think he's under a lot of pressure, but I think that's a good thing.
Now, I see, you told us before we started recording, you were at the DePaul press conference. They introduced Chris Holtman, veteran head coach, former coach at Butler and Ohio State, as their new head coach. Apparently, they're putting in about $30 million on this guy. Do you think he can help restore DePaul to its glory?
Well, I just wish when I was on the staff at DePaul, they were paying $30 million. That's what I'm upset about that. I think I made like $2,000 or something. But what I like about this is instant credibility. It really is. He's not an assistant coach. He's a guy that was Big East Coach of the Year. He knows the Big East Conference. He was a Big Ten Coach of the Year. He knows what it takes. But now, I'm going to be totally honest with you. It doesn't make a difference who's the coach. NIL has made such a big difference now. If you don't have name, image, and likeness money, you can have Coach K coach. It won't make a difference. DePaul was last in the Big Ten in NIL money. They're doing a much better job getting NIL money. See, in the old days, I can go to somebody's living room and talk about a degree from DePaul, how small the classrooms are. You won't be in a big lecture hall. There's 20 people in your classroom. You get individual attention. I could talk about the connections of DePaul. You want to be a lawyer, we have a great law school. We have all these judges on the bench that are DePaul law school grads. They don't want to hear that anymore. All they want to hear about two things, NIL and playing time. That's all they care about now, with NIL being number one. So I hope Holtzman can do it. I think he can do it. I think he brings credibility back to the job. I think that Sun-Times was right by saying it's probably the best and higher and credibility-wise since Ray Meyer. I really do. So I'm hoping he does well. I really do.
And speaking of DePaul, of course, we all know that the top talent from the city of Chicago in particular, they go to the top schools like Duke and North Carolina and some of the other schools across the country. Now with Mark Aguirre, former DePaul player back in his day, now the assistant athletic director, how much him being there can help to at least recruit some of the second and third tier guys come out of the city of Chicago or the state of Illinois?
Well, we don't need the second and third tier guy. We need the first tier guy. Okay. Because DePaul's in the Big East. We need the first tier guy. We don't need the second and third tier guy. And, unfortunately, a lot of these players that play today don't know who Mark Aguirre is. But hopefully their parents will understand who Mark Aguirre is, what he meant to the city of Chicago, how he was the biggest star in Chicago before Michael Jordan. And even when Michael Jordan first got here, Mark Aguirre was the biggest star. I was telling somebody today at the press conference, the All-State Arena, then with the Rosemont Horizon, was built for DePaul basketball. Yeah, that's why it was built. So, yeah, it's great to have Mark back in the fold. I'm sure hopefully some of the money, the old money as we call it, the people that were smart when they played, they'll come out and help with that NIL, because NIL has really, really made a big difference.
Do you think they can, they can kind of compete with the NIL money with the Villanovas, the UConn, now that they're back in the conference, and the Marquettes and the Cranes and the
St. John's and Rick Pitino. Yeah, well, DePaul was last NIL money. So they're doing a much better job now trying to do fundraising to get NIL. So I think they'll be okay. You don't have to be number one, but you want to be in the top tier.
Going back to the tournament, of course, everybody talks about the University of Houston and UConn has a chance to repeat as national champs. What are the things that people should be looking out for their fans and other pundits are not talking about right now?
I really think that Utah and Houston are so good. I don't think anybody else got a prayer, to be honest with you. I was trying to think, does anybody have a chance? I don't really think anybody has a chance. I think the biggest story is the people like that didn't get in to turn down the NIT, like Oklahoma and St. John. But I don't think anybody got a chance over Houston and UConn, to be honest with you.
Yeah, let's talk about that with the NIT for a second. I know that Coach Crean, kind of went in, and even he kind of had some of his issues with the NIT a few years back, but we won't go there. So hearing teams like St. John's and Oklahoma, I think I saw some like Ole Miss, and I think Syracuse too also turned down the invite. So what do you think about that? I mean, it's a little bit kind of odd that teams would not want their players and their coaches to to play some like extra basketball.
Well, I agree with you, because the more games you play, the better you get. and the more you can do. So to me, it's sort of like sour grapes. I understand, Rick Pitino's a good friend of mine. I think St. John's has a great battle and argument for being in the NCAA. I would not have turned down the NIT, but the transfer portal opened today. So now all these guys want to get I guess, a head start on the transfer portal. But I'm with you. I think I would have played. I certainly would have played. I think the more you play, the better your teams are, the more chance you get to put your group together. But remember, college basketball landscape is changing a lot. Your roster today may not look the same next year because every student athlete in America today could put their name in the transfer portal and leave. So you also have to recruit your own team as well. So these guys want to get a jump on the portal. I think it was a mistake. I think it sounds sort of like, like I'm taking my basketball and going home. You're on the playground. Oh, I can't play. Well, I'm taking my ball and I'm leaving. And I didn't think that was, I didn't like it, but hey, the players didn't mind it. So I guess it's the way it's going to be.
We're hanging out with WCIU TV and Chicago sports director, Mr. Kenny McReynolds, right here on the Monday edition of Second City Sports on Sports Zone Chicago. Sid LaKenna here with you. Now let's transition over to the NFL. Kenny, of course, the Chicago Bears, they traded quarterback Justin Fields to the Pittsburgh Steelers in exchange for a conditional 6th-round pick. Of course, there's been a debate of should Justin Fields have stayed and Caleb Williams looks like he's going to be drafted. Do you think that Justin Fields got a fair shake here? And what do you think about the presumed draft pick of Caleb Williams coming to Chicago?
Well, I think Justin got a fair shake, but remember, what's the hardest position in sports? Quarterback.
Mm-hmm.
It's the hardest position in sports. I thought Justin Fields showed a tremendous amount of growth. I'm a QB1 fan. I think he got a fair shot. I think that, remember, Ryan Poles didn't draft him, though. That's the key.
Yeah.
He didn't draft him. And a lot of these guys like to bring in their own people. I thought that I was shocked you only got a 6th-round pick for him, which means a lot of people just disagreed with me in the NFL, didn't think he was a starting quarterback. I think he's a tremendous quarterback. Now, what I've done, Washington really needs a quarterback. Caleb Williams is from Virginia. I would have asked Washington, if you take Caleb, I'll give you number 1, you give me number 2, and you're number 1 next year, and I would have taken Marvin Harrison Jr. That's just me. But they got Allen from the Chargers, who was a tremendous pickup because he had a $5 million bonus, I think it was today, that the Chargers didn't want to pay. So it's going to be Caleb Williams. I think Caleb Williams is going to be a fine pro quarterback, but remember, he's a rookie. You're starting all over again. Do you have Caleb Williams? Is he Justin Fields again? Is he going to have to learn? Yes. Is he going to have to grow? Yes. Are we going to get a Caleb Williams that played at Notre Dame? He wasn't too good at it against Notre Dame in South Bend. Myself, I'm a QB1 fan. I would have kept QB1, but that's just me.
Now, the Keenan Allen trade, I think they caught a lot of folks off guard from the Chargers. But what do you think this happens with the Bears at number 9? Do they still try to get maybe a Roma Doomsday, assume that he's still there, or do they perhaps maybe trade the pick and and go back? What do you think is going to happen?
Oh, I think you trade that now and go down and get more picks because you got your wide receiver. You got an all-pro wide receiver. So I think you trade that pick and go move down and get a couple of more picks and add some picks because Allen is a special wide receiver.
Let's go over to the NBA, talk about the Chicago Bulls right now. They're 33-35. Of course, that Zach LaVine and Patrick Williams are both out for the year. They beat the Washington Wizards the other night. Where do you see this Bulls team at the end of the season? Do you think they're qualified to actually get into the playoffs, or do you think the same scenario, what happened this year like it did last year, fall in the play-in tournament?
Oh, they'll be in the play-in tournament. I think they'll be number 9 like they were last year. I think the exact same thing happens that happened last year. They're a play-in team. They're not going to make that top 6. I think they'll be number 9 because Atlanta's hurt with Trae Young out. So, yeah, I think they'll be number 9 and they'll be in the play-in.
Now, what about the NBA as a whole? Well, what about the NBA as a whole? Because of course, you're seeing teams like Oklahoma City, Minnesota, even though Cat's out right now. at the top, especially at the Western Conference. So who do you think is going to come out of there? Because you've got Denver, of course, they're playing well. Phoenix is kind of up and down. The Clippers, I know they had a bad loss to the Hawks last night. So what do you think is going to happen
Tell you
out?
what,
Huh?
the Clippers are really good. The Clippers are really, really good. I saw the Clippers against the Bulls the other day. The way they shoot those threes, and when Leonard and George are healthy and when they play pretty good. The Clippers are pretty good, but I think Denver comes out of the West. Denver is really, really good.
Yeah. And what do you think about LeBron James, what he's doing in year 21, putting up numbers that we haven't seen before? And I'm not going to ask you, do you have him over Michael Jordan as greatest player of all time? That's an old argument. But give us your thoughts about LeBron James and what he's doing so far for this Lakers team this year.
We've never seen anything like this, and we probably never will. Because he could probably come back and play for a 22nd year because he takes such a good care of his body. It's unbelievable what he's doing in year 21. They rest him a lot, but he takes great care of his body. We'll never see that again. I don't think anybody will do. You may get somebody to play 21 years, but will they put up the numbers that he's putting up? I highly doubt it. It wouldn't surprise me if he came back next year because he's in such great physical condition. Now, is he the greatest of all time? I'm going to tell you why I think Michael Jordan is the greatest of all time. You don't have NBA Africa. You don't have NBA Europe. You don't have NBA TV. You don't have that TV contract where every NBA team is getting $80 million. That's going to double in 2 years. You don't have guys making $40, $50 million a year without Michael Jordan. He did all that by himself. He did that single-handedly. He took the NBA to a whole global level. That's, in my opinion, why he's the greatest. It has anything to do with those numbers. It has to do with this numbers. And nobody in the NBA is making $40, $50 million a year without Michael Jordan because he's the reason they quadrupled the TV contract. They're going to do it again. And he made the NBA global game. He did it. Nobody else did it.
Now let's switch gears and talk some baseball. I know you're a big White Sox fan, Kenny, and of course Dylan Cease is gone. He's in San Diego now. I know he had a tough first outing. So, do you really have any expectations for the White Sox this coming season?
For the first time in my life, and I was born in Wentworth Gardens, a block from Sox Park. The first time in my life, and I've been to every White Sox home opener since I was 2 years old. First time in my life, I'm not excited about baseball season starting on the South Side. Even last year, I had hope and some excitement. This year, I have no hope, no expectations, and no excitement.
No, wow. You took the words right out of my mouth, but you're surely going to find a way to go to some of those games this year. I'm guilty as charged, but probably not as many.
I'll go to like 70 games, but I'm not going to sit there like this.
I love it.
I love baseball. And I love the White Sox. I mean, I want to see the White Sox do well. I don't like rebuilds. I like reloads. And I mean, I understand what they're doing. They wasn't going to win with what they had. The thing I don't understand, you lose 101 games. The only team worse than you is Kansas City. And you go back and get all their players, all their front office people. Why? They're the only team in the division worse than you. And you want to go raise their front office, you want to make trades for their players. That to me makes absolutely no sense. But I'm not in the room making the trades.
Speaking of the White Sox, and I'll bring the Bears back into this conversation. Of course, there's a battle of which team is going to get the new stadium. I know the White Sox lease is up in 2029. Give us your percentage of realistically the realistic chance of the Sox getting the new stadium around the 78 area near downtown. And what's the realistic chance in your mind that they'll get a new stadium?
Oh, I think they're going to get a new stadium because Jerry Reinsdorf is a very smart man. And if he's putting this thing together, he knows what he's doing. Now, will the state of Illinois give them another free stadium? I don't know. But Jerry Reinsdorf is a brilliant man, and he has a plan in store. So, yeah, I would think if he wants a new stadium, he's going to find a way to get the White Sox a new stadium. Jerry Reinsdorf is brilliant. Will the Bears get a new stadium? I've been saying when they were talking about a new stadium, I kept saying, why don't you put it on the Soldier Field parking lot? My thing was tear down McCormick Place East. They don't use it anyway. I mean, you may lose the Erie Crown Theater, but it's falling apart anyway. Yeah. But so what? I said tear down.
Right. That's true.
and put it there. Now, of course, the Friends of the Park, they stopped Lucas from putting his museum there. The hell, Friends of the Park, I mean, who are they? Every month on my house notice says Chicago Park District tax. So, I mean, am I a friend of the park? I don't care if they build a stadium there or not. Who do they know? They obviously know somebody. But to me, it'd be great. I don't know where you're going to park because there's no parking in Soldier Field now, and you can't tear down Soldier Field because of the columns is they're landmarked. But yeah, I think the Sox are going to get a new stadium. If Jerry Reinsdorf is working on it, again, he's brilliant. And I think the Bears are going to get a new stadium. I didn't understand the $2 billion that they'll pay, but yet it'll be a public stadium. So you can just give it to the city. That part I'm not clear on. I don't understand that. But I think it'd be great to have it on 26th Street. I mean, on Soldier Field in the parking lot. If the Friends of the Park don't block it, but again, I don't know who they are. They must have some clout. But last time I looked, the park on that land, and the city of Chicago owns the park. And I don't know if you live in the city, but if you do, you pay park district tax. That's your land just as much as theirs.
That's very, very true. Couple more minutes here with our new buddy, WCIU, the U sports director, and Chicago media icons. Kenny McReynolds joining us here on Second City Sports on Sports of Chicago, like Keenan McKee, City Brown with you. Last question for me, Sid. What was that, Kenny?
This makes me be old. That's what you're saying. A nice way.
Oh. Oh no, that's not true. Well, LeBron's not hot. He's younger than me, so.
Can I get a plug in real quick?
No, go ahead.
Sunday on my show, Sports Edition, on Me TV at 6:30 a.m. and on the U at 9:30 a.m. I got Lynette Woodard coming on. Talking about Caitlin Clark breaking her record. And it was her record, not Kelsey Plum's record. But anyway, I didn't mean to interrupt you. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, it's fine. No, that's like, we were gonna let you plug it at the end anyway. But well, speaking of, I mean, let's talk about the state of high school basketball here in Chicago, especially because Tom Kleisberg, of course, former DePaul star, led DePaul College Prep to now 2 straight state championships, 1 in 2A and a couple weeks ago in 3A. And Phillips, my mom's alma mater, they won in 2A. Of course, home of Flossmoor finally wins their boys basketball title. I think after 8 or 9 tries. What do you think about the state of basketball here in Illinois, especially in Chicago?
Well, it's not as what it was a few years ago, but I did have the pleasure of calling Klein-Smith's and DePaul's game. I called the 3A this year and the 2A last year. But I think we're in pretty good shape. Phillips, E.J. Horton is an amazing player. Just to come in from Florida, where he moved here from, and wanted to go to Whitney Young. They didn't take juniors. His mom didn't tell him he played basketball. So they just said, we don't take juniors. So whoops about that one. But yeah, I mean, Mike Irvin's going to always do a great job at Kenwood. I think Phillips is going to be back. Simeon, Tim's going to do a great job. So we're okay. I mean, we don't have the Derrick Roses or the Jaleel Okafor or the Jabari Parkers like we used to. But I think the state of basketball is going to be okay.
Not to make you sound old, Kenny, but you've been part of Chicago basketball history for a long time. Short time, but a long time. Of course, unfortunately, this year it will be the 40th anniversary of the death of Ben Wilson. You were a part of that ESPN 30 for 30 documentary called Benji. For those who haven't seen it, please check it out. Me and Lakina were kids when he passed away back in November of '84. My birthday is in October, so I turned 4 the month before the untimely passing. To tell our listeners and viewers who was Ben Wilson, not just a basketball player, but as a person.
Well, Ben Wilson was the best high school basketball player I ever saw play. I mean, you heard it before and you hear it again. He was Magic Johnson with a jump shot. There's so many things this man could do. His passes were outstanding. He had those long hands, and people be walking around the street like this doing a Ben Wilson because when he did that follow, his hands were so long, his fingers never fall down. I mean, Common does it better than anybody because Common was in awe of Ben Wilson.
Yes.
Great player, and he's a great person. He had the personality when he walked into a room and smiled, the whole room lit up. You didn't have to have lights on in the room. When Ben Wilson walked in that room lit up. That's the kind of personality he had. It wasn't a matter of if he could play in the NBA. It would have been a matter of how long would he have stayed in the NBA. He could have gone right from high school. I mean, It was unbelievable. And he never played the senior year. And
Mm-hmm.
he's the best high school player I ever saw play. And I saw LeBron play in high school. This guy, because he could pass, his passes were unbelievable. He could shoot. He was so good when he got out of Bob Hambrick's system. You know, Hambrick had that structure system, and he's still the best player. I mean, they go downstate, he get in foul trouble. I think they won a state tournament. What he scored, like 4 or 5 points, and still dominated the game. He was an unbelievable person and an unbelievable basketball player.
It's unfortunate. Life was cut too short then,
It really
but just
well,
unfortunate.
one thing that came out of his tragic death, they changed the rule now, the law, that instead of taking you to the nearest hospital, if it was a trauma, they take you to the nearest trauma center. And that came because St. Bernard didn't have a trauma center, didn't have a doctor, and Ben actually bled to death, waiting for a doctor to get there because they didn't have it wasn't a trauma center, and he bled to death. So if there's, if there's anything that came out of it that people should really celebrate, that they changed the law. So now they will take you to the nearest trauma center instead of the nearest hospital.
One good thing that did come out of that. Kenny, thank you so much for joining us today. This was an awesome conversation. We're gonna have you back on again. Now you can promote all your shows, social media, and all that good stuff.
Well, I'm not a big social media fan, but I'm on Instagram. I think it's Kenny McReynolds or Kenny McReynolds Sports Edition. I don't know. I think it's on Instagram. I don't know. But you can catch my show, Sports Edition, on MeTV Sunday mornings at 6:30 and on the U at 9:30. And this coming Sunday, I have Lynette Woodard coming on, talking about being the first female to play for the Globetrotters, scoring those 3,600 points. And also, if you live in the city of Chicago and have cable, City of Chicago TV, channel 23, also runs my show, Sports Edition, every Friday, Saturday, and Sunday at 5:30 p.m. and every Saturday, Sunday, and Monday at 8:30 a.m. So, and it's the same show. So, but yeah, I love, got a little Lynette Woodard coming on. Then after that, we got Tom Kleinschmidt coming on in a couple of weeks. I had the gymnast from the University of Michigan on last week. She's from Plainfield. She's Sarah Brooks. She's the face of college gymnastics now. So yeah, I have a lot of fun doing the show, and I want to thank you so much for having me on your show. I've been a big fan of the show. I'm sorry I was a little bit late today, but I really appreciate the invitation. I think UConn's going to win the NCAA. I tried to think of somebody else, a dark horse. You said besides UConn and Houston. You know what? You never count out North Carolina because they're North Carolina. Iowa State's pretty good too. If I'm gonna pick a dark horse, I'm gonna pick Iowa State. How's that?
Okay.
Yeah, I can see that. Yeah.
Your dark horse. Yeah, I'm gonna pick Iowa State for your dark horse, and I hope Loyola makes it deep into the NIT. Bradley's not gonna be easy on the road. Once Loyola lost, I think they knew they weren't gonna get in. Because Dayton, although they were 3 seed in the A10, they were still in the top 25 rankings. But Drew has done a tremendous job at Loyola, and let's hope that Holtzman does a great job for my beloved DePaul Blue Demons. Because once a Blue Demon, always a Blue Demon.
Oh, yeah.
And boy, it's been a long 20 years since we've been to the NCAA tournament.
Yeah.
Remember we used to watch the election Sunday all excited. Yesterday, I was
yeah.
My boy, who else is going? But hey, I really appreciate the invitation, and I hope you guys would have me back. I would love to come back.
Oh, absolutely. That's a given. You're coming back to the show.
You're family now, so you're welcome back anytime.
Now, yeah. So you're family now. So yeah, you have an open invite to come back anytime.
Well, thank you so much. I really, really appreciate what you guys do for the sports world, especially the African American community. All you do to help promote sports and to show people that we have some African Americans out here that really know what they're doing and are extremely talented, and you're able to showcase what you do. And I really appreciate what you two do. I really do.
Well, you
Thank you very much.
Pay the way. You paid the way for us, Kenny. So yeah, what you say.
But thank you for making me feel old.
Oh gosh. We'll talk to you soon, Kenny.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate you having me on. Thank you.
Thank you.
right,
Take
have a
care.
good
Much
one.
continued
Stay
success.
safe.
Okay, thank you.
All
All right.
right. All right. That was a fun conversation with Kenny McMillan, of course, WCIU sports director. And Chicago media icon, whether he likes to, for us to say it or not. Here on Second City Sports.
He's in his 20s just like us.
Yeah, he's only like 32. So yeah, he's been doing this since like 2. He's only been doing this like 2 years old or something. He went to come to college like 2. So yeah, he was like a big genius and made the papers. But we're taking a really quick break, of course. I know Sid's got some thoughts on the Justin Fields trade, as do I. We'll tell you about that coming up next. Sydney Brown, Lakita McGee, Second City Sports on Sports of Chicago. Fields trade talk coming up right after this.
This year, my mom got me the perfect bag for back to school.
These colorful binders help me stay organized.
These headphones are just what I need for studying.
These new sneakers are just what I need for the new year.
This jacket is a real must-have.
My parents got me the skateboard I wanted. It's pretty cool.
These scissors really come in handy in art class.
These colored pencils, too.
These new socks, they can be a real lifesaver.
And I finally got my own phone to stay in touch with my mom.
Trisha's having a sleepover tonight. Can I go?
I wonder about Lucy's friends. What should I say? I know you're only 10, but one of these days a friend will offer you a drink. And alcohol at your age can lead to so many things. None of them good.
So can I go to the sleepover?
Lucy, I want you to promise me
I
something.
finished my homework.
Bigger promise. If there's any drinking, I want you to say, "No thanks, not my thing."
Mom.
I promise you, your real friends won't care. Deal?
Sure.
Really?
I promise, Mom.
They really do hear you.
Did you pack your toothbrush?
For tips on how to start the talk, visit underagedrinking.samhsa.gov, a public service message from the Substance Abuse and Mental Health Services Administration.
Hey, this is Dr. J, and I listen to Sean and Maya in the morning.
Welcome back to Second City Sports, the Monday edition. We're rocking and rolling and rocking right here on Sports Zone Chicago. I'm Sid. That's Lakina. There she goes. You can follow me. You can follow yours truly on the Twitter, X, and the IG at SidKid80. Once again, it's SidKid80. That's SIDKID80. That's SIDKID80.
You can find my Keena McGee on the Twitter, X at again, IG.
And we have less than 2 hours left of this extravaganza we call a sports talk radio show. So if you have any questions or comments for us, you can always hit us up at Sports Zone Chicago's Facebook page or at Sports Zone Chicago YouTube. Type in those questions or comments in the comments section. Lakina will get them up on the screen for you.
All right, so thank you again to Kenny McRose for joining us. He kind of reiterated this during our interview, but it kind of happened like I don't want to say the dead of Saturday night, but it was kind of like late Saturday afternoon, going to Sunday evening when the news kind of dropped that Justin Fields is now the ex QB for the Chicago Bears. He's been traded to Pittsburgh for a conditional 6th-round pick, and I guess with the way that the way it works is that if he play a certain amount of games, or if he has a certain amount of stats, it goes to a 4th-round pick. I'll let you have the floor first, Sid, because listening to Chicago sports radio is always an adventure. Well, I think with any big city, you used to a sports radio station, it's always an adventure here. And some of the takes I've been hearing are a little bit. I won't really get into it, but Sid, go ahead. You go first. Give us your reaction to the Fields trade.
First, when I heard the news, I saw it on social media, just like everybody else. Ian Rappaport's tweet, his official X account confirmed it. Here's the thing. I'll get to the media and the national pundits in just a moment. But as we told you on this show last week, in our last 2 shows, the Bears overvalue Justin Fields in the trade market. Of course, the old saying is aim high and meet, and then they had to meet somewhere in the middle. We told you guys Justin Fields was not going to get traded for a second, or he definitely not a 1st-round pick, not for the 2nd-round pick, probably not for a 3rd-round pick. He was traded for a conditional 6th-round pick. Whether we like it or not, the league told you the worth of Justin Fields. Now, did the Bears organization fail Justin Fields? Yes. Now, did Justin Fields struggle at times? Yes, because he was obviously he's not a rookie now, but his rookie year he got set up by ex-head coach Matt Nagy, who did not want to play him at all, but was forced to because of the injury to Andy Dalton. The following year, 2022, Matt Eberflus and a whole new regime came in, so he had to start from scratch. Last year, I know the injury he had early in the season against the Minnesota Vikings set him back a little bit, but he did improve when he came back. We talked about it on this show. So, number 2, he did not have all the weapons around him while he was here. And if the Bears thought he was going to be in quote unquote another Aaron Rodgers to transform a team to get up out of any situation, he's not that type of quarterback. Not all quarterbacks are built the same. Now, do I wish Justin Fields the best in Pittsburgh? Yes, because I think he's going to get a great opportunity under a better head coach in Mike Tomlin. Now, my anger first goes towards Bears manager because Lakina, and I know we didn't, because of time constraints, we didn't get into it too much with Kenny. But this is a historical issue with the Chicago Bears franchise. They never properly developed a franchise quarterback. I think one of the reasons why many Bears fans that are upset, including yours truly, because we never had a quarterback drafted like that with that prototype type of talent before. And you didn't properly develop them, especially with all the circumstances I just mentioned. You didn't put the right pieces around him in time to help him at least become a very good quarterback. That's absurd. And that goes towards Bears management, okay? Now, my other anger goes towards many of these national pundits and some of the local pundits too, especially on the 2 sports radio stations. If your opinion was that Caleb Williams could lead this team better than Justin Fields, fine. But Lakina, I asked you this question last week. I'll ask it again because you're more of the college sports expert than I am, even though I did admit that I watched a little bit more Caleb Williams last year than I did the year before. I'll ask you guys watching on Sports Zone Chicago's Facebook page, Sports Zone Chicago on YouTube, and Sports Zone Chicago on Roku TV. Chime in with your answers or questions. Can somebody please give me a logical answer of why people think that Caleb Williams is a generational talent? I still haven't found a logical answer yet. And that's what makes me so angry. And of course, people can have their own opinions, but many of these Bears fans that are jumping on the bandwagon because of a few people on both the radio stations here in Chicago saying that they want Caleb Williams, he's the next best thing. Those are the same ones that were kicking Justin Fields out the door, buying that narrative that he was just a quote-unquote running quarterback, okay? I get it. Fans come and go. They hop on the hottest takes because it's popular, okay? And I said this to a group chat amongst our old group, at D and Davis show. I said this, and I'll say it to you, Lakina, and I'll say it to our listeners and viewers here. For those of you that think that Caleb Williams is fit to better lead this team than Justin Fields, fine. But your Caleb Williams is now your savior. Barring injury, let me repeat again, barring injury, Caleb Williams will determine the future of these two people. Head coach Matt Eberflus and GM Ryan Poles. Barring injury, your savior now is going to have a big role on how this 2024 season goes. Whether you like it or
Okay. Okay, I'll start. Very nicely put, Sid. I'll say this. I'll start with the media and all that. I mean, I heard RG3 Robert III's comments earlier that Caleb Williams should, do an Eli Manning, and of course Eli did. Of course he was going to get drafted by the Chargers, and and he did do that, and now he's with the Giants, and the rest was history. But here's the thing. I mean, that kind of thing doesn't happen anymore, and it probably might not work anymore. So it's got and Caleb Williams also has a brand to protect. So I don't think he's going to do that. So that's not going to happen. 1, 2. I've heard both sports radio stations with some pundits. I won't name any names, and some of the fans and the callers. I'm just like, it makes your head want to explode because this team is not a QB away from winning the Super Bowl. They're not. Did I miss something? Did they win a division? Look, yeah, I know they're supposed to have a last place schedule this coming season when the schedule comes out in a couple of months, but that doesn't mean anything. It's going to be like that only in paper only. They're going to play the NFC West next year. Okay, and the 49ers, the 6 Seahawks, they made some nice moves. The Rams, I know Aaron Donald's retired now, but that's still a pretty solid and decent team. Arizona, they actually, gave some teams some fits. So they're going to make a bigger step next year, of course, with Kyler Murray at the helm. So that's a little bit much there. 10 games, seriously? Really? You're going to put the bar at 10? Are you serious? And the whole thing about the Fields thing, I wish him nothing but success. I think he's in a better situation there, like you said, Sid, with a better coach. He's going to have one of the best current quarterbacks out there, and Russell Wilson, future Hall of Famer, is going to be his mentor. That's going to help a lot. They got a new OC there. He's really good at developing, offensive players. So, they're all good there. Now, as far as the Bears are concerned, look, we haven't even seen the preseason game yet. These guys haven't started practicing yet. So to say that, this team's going to win 10 games, they're going to win a division. What? So, yeah, I mean, look, Caleb Williams, I feel bad for him because now all the whole world of Chicago, I should say, is on it. Going to be the pressure's going to be on him. It's going to be on his shoulders. And yes, they've made some strides with the O-line. They've made some strides. They got Keenan Allen. They bumped up the running game with DeAndre Swift, but that still doesn't mean you're going to produce. It's not. You don't know how this team's going to mesh. They learned a new offensive system. So for all these folks that are some of these pundits are saying, well, the Bears are going to win the division. Blah, blah. No, you can't think like that yet. You just can't.
I get you have to set the bar somewhere, Lakina, and I've been saying that the Bears are not that far away from at least being a playoff team next year if everything goes right. But like you said, Caleb Williams, he's going to have enormous pressure, whether he likes it or not. I know he's shown confidence only by a couple of interviews so far he's done in front of me at the combine he did last month. But here's the thing. Before I get back to Mia, for me personally, do I wish Caleb Williams the best of luck? Yes, I do not. I repeat, I do not have anything personal against Caleb Williams. As I told you, for the few games I watched last year and a couple I did the year before, was he the best quarterback in college football? Yes. But I asked this question once. I'll ask it again. Please, someone logically tell me what makes him a generational talent. Oh, he can run out of the pocket. There's millions of quarterbacks that can do that. Well, he can pass the ball. Players that play quarterback, they can do that too. And then there's some people that want to compare him to Patrick Mahomes. Personally, I think it's a reach, but not everybody's playing quarterback has that special it factor. They don't. And this is not me knocking Caleb Williams. It's me knocking those pundits that want to put that generational talent on him and not telling me a logical reason why it is. They just want to do it to get clicks, to get emotions out of people, which they're doing a damn good job by the way. But yours truly is smart enough to take a step back and say, hey, he's been the best quarterback in college football the last 2 years, but where's this generational attack coming from? It didn't start till after the season, Lakina. And no one has told me yet what makes Caleb Williams a generational talent. No one has told me. I haven't heard any of these podcasts on these other shows. I haven't heard a logical reason what makes Caleb Williams a generational quarterback. Now, do I wish him the best of luck? Yes. Do I have something personal against him? No. But as I said before, and I'll say it again, Bears fans, whether you like it or not, you wanted the ones that wanted Caleb Williams. You got him. Barring injury, he's going to play a major factor what happens this season and determine the futures of two people, Matt Eberflus and Ryan Poles.
Before we go to break and closing here, look at the first. I've watched all of Caleb's games when he was at OU, and in the 2 years he was at USC. Of course, when he won the Heisman. Look, he was great when he won his Heisman. He definitely deserved it that year. But you saw what happened this past season. Coaches started figuring him out. Washington defense gave him hell when they played. Notre Dame's defense, look, Lord knows I'm not a big Notre Dame fan, but their credit, to Marcus Freeman's credit, though his defense got the best of Caleb. And
didn't Caleb beat them the year before too with the same defense?
He did.
Thank you.
He did. And it's just the feeling is sort of like the generational stuff. Like, wait, what? Like, the Pat Mahomes, what? Pat Mahomes wasn't even Pat Mahomes at the time. So, people just say, all this stuff, putting all this pressure on him. We just see, so far he's handled it, but we just see once they start training camp, rookie camp, and all that. That's going to be where it is. And I'm glad I don't get caught up in all the emotion of it, because I'm listening to people and reading people's comments. It's just like, oh, good Lord, yeah, Bears 20 just proved you're insufferable. So, good luck to him, and I'm just gonna sit back and watch, because this is gonna be very interesting. In what way? Who knows? We'll see.
Yeah, like I said, I'm just glad I got it all out of my system now. Like you said, this thing is over for now. But once draft night comes, he's going to get a mixed reaction, and we'll see what happens. Because, like I said, barring injury, a whole lot of pressure is going to be placed on that young man. Like I said, is it fair? No. Like I said, the anger should go towards Bears management as a franchise first, and then the rest goes towards the media pundits in this town and across the country, especially the ones across the country. They haven't watched every damn set. They don't know what they're talking about.
All right, you feel better now, Sid?
Yes.
Okay, good.
Musa.
So do I. It's good. Got that out of our systems. Hour number 1 in the books. Hour number 2 coming up here on Second City Sports. And let's talk about go to the NBA in the grid and the iron there. The Bulls could get a nice dominant win against the Wizards, but I'm a little miffed about that win. I'll tell you why in a second. The rest of the NBA, of course, including the latest battle between Steph and LeBron, came down to timing. Kyrie got a buzzer beater against the defending champs.
An unusual one.
Yes, and very unusual. And of course, we'll talk some more college hoops. Both men, and we'll talk a little bit of women's too, because they're about to start their tournament this week as well. Blackhawks, and of course, March Madness edition of Old School TV Monday, movie edition too, and a whole lot more. Still a lot to do. Sid, this second hour coming up. Sidney Brown, Lakina McGee, Second City Sports on Sports in Chicago. We talk NBA right after this.
No, I don't know though. I'm scared. I mean, you're so
Do you know that you're in my lane? No, not at all. Are you not paying attention? Are you texting? I was just checking in with my mom. I was telling her that I thought we'd be home by 6. It's okay. There's enough time. Just pay attention. I'm not even halfway through my text. There's no way. I'm not even going to look up. My babies are in the car. You have to pay attention. It's just supposed to be a quick text. I'm so sorry.
Hi, I'm Tom Brady, the director of DODEA. September is National Suicide Prevention and Awareness Month. The simple act of reaching out and caring for those in our communities is something we all can do. Just being there for someone you care about can be a tremendous first step in getting them access to confidential resources and support that they need. It only takes one person and one small act and 1 minute to make a difference. Let's make a difference.
Move it! Yes, sir!
Many will hear the calling. Few will earn the title. United States Marine. The few, the proud, the Marines.
Welcome back as we kick off hour number 2 of the Monday edition of Second City Sports. We're live in the living color right here on Sports Soul Chicago. I'm Sid, that's Lakina. You can follow yours surely on the Twitter, X, and the IG at SidKid80. Once again, it's SidKid80. That's SIDKID80. That's SIDKID80.
You can follow Makina McGee on the Twitter, X, IG.
We have 55 minutes left or so in this extravaganza we call a Sports Talk Radio Show. If you have any questions or comments for us, you can always hit us up at Sports Zone Chicago's Facebook page or at Sports Zone Chicago on YouTube. Type in those questions or comments in the comments section. Lakina will get them up on the screen for you. And just a daily reminder, you can catch Sports Zone Chicago live in the living color on Roku TV.
Okay, Sid, let's talk some NBA. And, of course, the Bulls got they took care of business. They did what we were supposed to against not a very good Washington Wizards team. They beat them pretty easily, 127-98. Mr. Ayo Dosunmu had a career high 34. And, of course, he was also 4 for 22 from the field and 4 for 7 from 3. One of his best showings. Alex Caruso kicked in with 16. Lucha had double-double with 29 and 13. This is by, DeMar only, scoring 13 points, but you really didn't need him because, they were playing the Wizards. My only gripe, Sid, Caruso played 34 minutes, got a little bit banged up, but he's fine. He says he's fine. Dosunmu played 41 minutes. DeMar played 35. I know. Look, Kobe White didn't play, which I think that's understandable. I'm sure, Coach Donovan told him, you know what, we're playing Washington, just take that game off. But he kept the stars there a little bit too long for my liking. That was a little bit a bone to pick on that one. But look, they took care of business. They did what they're supposed to against a not a very good Washington team, so they got the win. That's the important thing.
And Jordan Poole provided free air conditioning at the United Center.
Wasn't that nice of him?
Even though he shot 3 of 6 from downtown, he only had 13 points. And give me the ball. Air ball. But I digress from him. But back to the Bulls, Lakina. We talked about this for the last few weeks, and especially following the All-Star break. I like the way Ayo Dosunmu is playing, especially with him growing as a player offensively. Like I said, he needs to improve his jump shot. It looks like he's starting to do that. He shot the ball well from three-point range, 4 or 7 for downtown. Nikolai Vucevic is finally getting involved within the offense. 29 points and 13 rebounds, as you mentioned. Now we've seen what these players could do without Zach LaVine and Patrick Williams. More important so is an indictment on Zach LaVine, how the way he plays. Yes, he's a top 5 scorer in this league when healthy, but we talked about it during the month of December, Lakina, when he was out the first time. I'm talking about LaVine. They gave all the other players time to step up and really fill in their roles and really to see what these players are made of. As a basketball fit for this team, Zach LaVine does not fit And it's proven again. You saw what Vucevic is doing. You saw what Io is doing. And you see what Alex Caruso, to a lesser extent, is doing too. Now, you mentioned with DeMar DeRozan. I'm not worried about him either. And sometimes, your stars sometimes will have off nights. You need other people to step up. Yes, did it help that they played one of the worst teams in the league? Yes, but you still need other players to do their part. And that's what we saw with the Bulls last Saturday.
Yeah, really good. Probably the best the Bulls have played well against a bad team, because usually they don't do well against a bad team. So they jumped on the Wizards early, and they didn't let up. So that's a good thing. You'll take that if you're a Bulls fan. They do play Portland tonight, so that should be interesting. But yeah, they shouldn't have no trouble with Portland. I'm just saying that. But let's talk about the rest of the weekend in the NBA. I talked about this with our buddy Kenny McReynolds a little earlier in the show. The Clippers, I mean, look, you get these kind of losses from time to time, but still, I mean, they got the butts kicked by Atlanta 110-93. Paul George had 26, I should say, and Kawhi, was solid. He had 28 points. Harden, though, didn't have his best shooting. Probably one of his worst shooting performances, probably in a while. He only had 9 points. And that's kind of what killed the Clippers last night.
Yeah, if you're a Clippers fan, you should not be worried too much. Like you said, these losses happen, but unfortunately, it's coming at a bad time. I believe you still are less than a month away from starting the NBA playoffs, and they're in the battle with Dallas, Minnesota, and Denver for those 3 of the 5 seeds in the Western Conference. So each loss will hurt the Clippers. And let's not forget the New Orleans Pelicans as well. So they're battling with 3 or 4 other teams to jockeying for position to fight for those top 4 spots in the Western Conference. Remember, after seed number 4, you did not get home court advantage in the first round. So I believe for this Clippers team to be successful, they do need home court advantage. As we said before, when this team is majority healthy, like Kenny said with us in the interview, the Clippers are one of the best teams in the league. They're pretty hard to beat. So hopefully, if you're a Clippers fan, you don't have too many bad losses like this, especially against an inferior opponent. Yes, this does happen throughout a long season from time to time, but it'll be interesting to see how the Clippers turn around their next game.
They may take it out in their next game. We'll talk about the scheduling in a little bit here. San Antonio needed overtime, but it did beat Brooklyn 122-115. Victor Wembanyama had 33 points, leading the way there. Celtics, no trouble with the Wizards. Jason Tatum had 30 points there. And congrats to Orlando. They get their first 40-win season since 2018. Paulo Banchero led the way there with 29 points. There was a photo that went viral. I won't, involving Grady Dick, of course, the rookie from. I
saw that someone posted it up on Instagram last night. Yeah, we're a family show. We're gonna keep it clean, but I did see that. Yes.
Yeah, him and of course Lucas Black, the rookie from.
We'll leave it alone.
Yeah, and Google's your friend, folks. We'll just it's
that way, but the way it came out, yeah.
I don't know if that was I don't know if that was intentional on their part, but yeah, okay. But moving on, as you say. Thriller here. If you saw this game on ABC, Dallas beat the Nuggets 107-105 via buzzer beater from Kyrie. And if you, I wish we had a clip of it, but if you saw it, it's also on the social media. But yeah, but Kyrie, he hasn't had any of these in a while, so a nice buzzer beater for him. Of course, Luka led the way with 37, and Dallas with a big win against the defending champs.
Yeah, a game-winning left-handed, his offhand jump shot off the glass. That was very impressive by Kyrie Irving. Excuse me, but he had his Paul Pierce moment. He called game, so no one expected that. Give Dallas credit, Lakina. They held Denver Nuggets to 105 points. So Jason Kidd, their head coach, is doing something right. Like 2 years ago, when the team is struggling, he had them focusing more on the defensive end. And look what happened. They got to the Western Conference Finals, and they lost to the eventual world champions that year in the Golden State Warriors. But Dallas is one of those teams we expect to break out and have a strong finish to the season. It looks like that may happen. We'll see down the road. But Denver, this is only their second loss since the All-Star break. If you're a Nuggets fan, I'm not too worried about this. Just get your team healthy in time for the playoffs because they're still going to be a tough team to beat.
Yeah, but yeah, I think look, these losses happen even the Bulls in the '90s and the Lakers in the early 2000s. And yes, even the Warriors had these kind of losses too. So
Mhm.
I think if you're Nuggets fan, you shouldn't be too worried. Just like you know what, it happens. Nice shot by Kyrie, well played. So that's the only way you can look at it. Miami edged out Detroit 104-101.
Yeah, Bam
Milwaukee.
Adebayo with the game winner. He called game
Yeah,
2.
yeah. He called game 2. But there was no bank there though. He didn't need the glass. So nice win for the Heat there. They're staying within striking distance of the play-in. Milwaukee beat the Suns 140-129, 31 points. That's up there. Well, it's not a career high for Bobby Porter Jr., but it's definitely up there. And Phoenix, someone said this, and like, why they got Devin Booker, KD, and Bradley Beal. Like, why can't the Suns shoot? Well, they don't have a floor general. As I told her, like, they don't have a CP3 type player to kind of like kind of facilitate the offense for them. To help to kind of take the load off of Beal and KD and Booker. So, Nusor Jurkic, he was he was like he only had I think like 8 points. They're gonna look. They're gonna need help from their bench. They want to go far, and I'm talking about the Suns. So Beal and KD and Book, they can't do it by themselves.
And also too, you mentioned Nurkic. He's their interior defender. And like you say, he could contribute offensively as well. But as I told you, and I'll keep harping on this about the Phoenix Suns, outside of their bench, they do not have an enforcer. I'm talking about to play defense within the interior outside Nurkic. That's going to be a problem come playoff time when the game slows down. Even in this offensive era we're in right now, you still have to learn how to stop somebody.
Especially they gotta play like either the Warriors or maybe dare I say
the
Lakers,
Nuggets, like last year.
The Nuggets. Yeah. So yeah, that's gonna be a problem for the Suns. So hopefully they can figure it out quick. As the Second City Sports on Sports Zone Chicago, Lakina McGee and Cindy Brown with you as we talk some NBA. Now going into Saturday's games. The Knicks with a nice win against the Kings, 98-91. Jalen Brunson had 42 points, couple of big shots from him. I know that the Knicks are, they're starting to get guys healthy, and I think that's really going to be the key. So, but unfortunately for the Kings, they didn't have their best shooting, night that night on Saturday.
No, like you said, the Knicks are playing on adrenaline right now. Jalen Brunson, as I said, he's my runner-up for MVP. Especially like you said, they're trying to get guys back with OJ Anunoby. Hopefully, Julius Randle will be soon to follow. But Jalen Brunson is carrying the team on his back just like he did last year. And the Knicks, so far, they're doing very well on their West Coast road trip. I know it wraps up for them later on this week, I believe. And so it was a nice, important win at Sacramento. Sacramento, I know they've taken a small step back from what they did last year when they shocked everybody, but they're in that playing tournament in the Western Conference right now. If they can get it together between now and the end of the season, I don't know if I'm the Lakers or the Warriors, I want to play them in the first matchup in a playing tournament.
They're definitely going to be a tough out. Minnesota, no trouble with Utah. And the ABC Saturday night game of the week, you got the Warriors pulling away from the Lakers. And something very strange happened near the end of that game. I'll let you describe it, Sid, because it's a little hard for me.
The shot clock went to 14 with, I believe, around 2.5 minutes left to go in the game. It got stuck for about a minute, and then it went off again. Something is riding in Denmark, as the old saying goes. But the other important thing that happened in that game on Saturday, actually two things. One, Anthony Davis had an eye injury. He did not return, so hopefully he'll get well soon. I'm sure they're going to have him wear goggles when he comes back. Number two, it was nice to see Klay Thompson and Steph Curry go back to their old ways. And number three, Chris Paul, as we said before, he returned from injury about a couple weeks ago. He also had a nice game. So we talk about Chris Paul and now Klay Thompson coming off the bench for this Warriors team. I think this is a good fit for Steve Kerr and his crew going forward. Right now, even though they had a slight step back last week in one of their losses, it's nice to see them to get back on track. If they stay like this and they're healthy, I know Steph Curry, as I mentioned, he's back too from injury. If they stay healthy like this and playing basketball like this between now and the end of the season, they still, as strange as this sounds, they're still going to be a tough out.
Oh yeah, I think we got a lot of experience in that on that on that team. So it's gonna be they'll I'm sure they'll hang in there to get the play in, but yeah, they're not gonna be easy out. I know that Steph just turned 36. I know Clay is like 34, and so is Draymond. As long as Draymond doesn't go crazy, I think they should be okay. So and he's been a good guy so far. So that's a good
If
thing.
you're the Lakers,
Okay.
you don't want to play the Warriors in the play-in right now. You don't.
Well, yeah, I'm sure. I'm sure LeBron feels that way as well. The Thunder pulled away from the Grizzlies. The Pelicans, no trouble with the Bulls is a opponent tonight. Portland, they're starting their road trip, their East Coast trip. I'm talking about Portland. The Sixers with a nice win over the Hornets. The Pacers over the Nets. And to round out the Saturday night's matchups, you got Houston over Cleveland. Jalen Green had 26 points for the Rockets. The Bulls play them later this week in Houston. They've been giving them fits lately. I'm talking about Houston, so
yeah,
that'll be an interesting game there. Going into Saturday, Utah edged out the Hawks.
Friday.
Yep. Well, Friday. Yeah, my bad. Nuggets over the Spurs. The Pelicans beat the Clippers. Zion had 34 points. That's the best I've seen him play in a long time. The Clippers, again, they're shooting. Harden's been struggling lately, so I think, look, this is not the kind of time you want to lose these kinds of games. I know the Pelicans are still a very solid team still, but I know Harden didn't play that game, so that didn't help their cause. Talking about the Clippers, so yeah, this was an interesting game, but a nice one for the Pels.
And the Clippers were coming off a back-to-back. They played in Chicago last Thursday, and of course they had to travel to New Orleans to play there last Friday night. Here's the thing about the New Orleans Pelicans, Lakina. They're doing this very quietly. I know people are forgotten about Zion Williamson because of all the injuries he's had throughout his career and some of the other stuff away from the court, which is a whole nother issue for a whole nother show. But he's quietly been playing very well. Let's not forget about Brandon Ingram too, CJ McCollum, and some of the other young guys that they have on their team as well. So New Orleans, as long as they stay out of number 7, I think they'll be good to go for the playoffs. If you're a Clippers fan, if they match up with the Pelicans, you want to have home court for that series, because if you don't, it's going to be trouble.
Big trouble. You know, the folks down there are going to be they like to party down there anyway in New Orleans. So I'm sure they'll go to a Pels game if they need to. The Magic over the Raptors. The Heat over the Pistons. Of course, Bam doing his thing with 22. And the Suns got to win against the Hornets.
Charlotte, one of the worst teams in the league next to Washington.
Yeah, so they didn't need that win there, especially after what happened a couple nights ago on Saturday. So going to this weekend's games real quick. Tonight, Monday, you got Cleveland, Indiana. That should be a fun one at 6. You got Detroit at the Celtics. You're going back to the old, late 80s, type of matchups there.
Talking about Bill Laimbeer giving Larry Bird the boot.
Oh yeah, literally and figuratively, I guess, if you can put it that way. The Heat against the Sixers. That's the first game of the ESPN, especially ESPN Monday Night Doubleheader. Portland, of course, we talked about the Bulls hosting Portland at 7. Utah, they host the T-Wolves. The second game of the ESPN special Monday Doubleheader. You got the Knicks and Golden State. That should be an interesting one down there. Memphis and Sacramento at 9, and the Lakers hosting the Hawks. Of course, the Hawks coming off that nice win against the Clippers. They'll have LeBron winning in AT. Hopefully, he'll play tonight with some goggles, and they'll have the wait for them at 9:30.
Yeah, this is a big game for the Lakers because of what happened on Saturday night against the Golden State Warriors. So big game for the Lakers tonight. Hopefully they don't take the Hawks lightly. Going to tomorrow, Tuesday, your schedule looks like this. Charlotte will visit Orlando. Houston will visit our nation's capital to play the Washington Wizards. The New Orleans Pelicans will visit New York City to play the Brooklyn Nets. Dallas and San Antonio will do their Texas two-step. In the lone NBA TV game of the night for tomorrow, Tuesday, we'll have Denver visiting Minnesota. That should be a good one.
Could we have a preview of the Western Conference Finals, perhaps?
Maybe.
Find out.
You never know.
We'll find out in a couple of months there. Wednesday, hump day, you got Miami and Cleveland at 6. That should be a good one. Indiana and Detroit at 6. the first game of the ESPN Wednesday night doubleheader, you got Milwaukee and Boston, maybe Eastern Conference Finals preview, maybe.
I think so.
Sacramento and Toronto at 6:30, Utah and OKC. You got Memphis and Golden State, the second game of the ESPN Wednesday night, I should say, doubleheader. That should be a fun match. It could be a playoff. Well, no, not a playoff regards because Memphis is not very good. But Philadelphia and Phoenix, they continue their West Coast trip up with the Sixers. And the Clippers and Portland at 9 o'clock. Hopefully the Clippers can kind of get it going again because they've had a couple of tough losses.
And your schedule for Thursday looks like this. The Chicago Bulls will visit the Houston Rockets, as Lakina mentioned earlier. Your other games are as follows for Thursday. New Orleans will visit Orlando. That's the first game of the NBA TV Thursday night doubleheader. Remember, folks, no TNT NBA Thursday this week because of the NCAA Men's College Basketball Tournament. The other remaining games for Thursday looks like this. Sacramento will visit our nation's capital to take on the Washington Wizards. The Nets and the Bucks will do battle in Milwaukee. Utah at Dallas. New York Knicks continue their West Coast road trip. They'll visit the Denver Nuggets. In the second half of that Thursday night TV doubleheader for NBA TV, will have Atlanta and Phoenix. I wish NBA TV will switch that game to the New York Knicks and Denver Nuggets, but well, what do I know? And that's your schedule for this week in the NBA.
You listen to Second City Sports on Chicago. Lakina McGee, Cindy Brown with you. So we got a few more minutes. Where do you want to go to here?
I want to stay with the NBA, and I wanted to ask you this question. We mentioned the Orlando Magic earlier. I know they're now 12 games above 500 at 40-28. If I'm not mistaken. I forget this young man's name. Is their head coach for the Orlando Magic. Would you consider him to be a serious candidate for Coach of the Year? And look at all the young talent they have down there in Orlando. You mentioned about Pablo Banchero, not Jalen Green, but Jalen Suggs, and some of the other young guys and Franz Wagner, and to lead that young group. Do you think their head coach should have some consideration for Coach of the Year?
Yeah, Jamal Mosley. Yeah,
Jamal Mosley. Thank you.
Yeah, he's got a new contract too, I believe. I think he got like a bump in salary too. So yeah, he definitely deserves it. It took him like about over a decade. I should say. It took about like 12 years, but they finally figured it out. They finally got the right coach, the right front office, and the right mix of players. Of course, we talked about Banchero. He's coming into his own. Wagner is also as well. Jalen Suggs is starting to figure it out. So yeah, I mean, they're definitely kind of all meshing. And look, if they make they should make the playoffs. I think they will. Now, it looks like they're as the standings. Let me see if I get the standings up. They're kind of like in the 4. They're kind of like in the 5 spot right now. Yep, they are, and it's gonna be interesting to see because right now they would play the Knicks if the playoffs started today. I think I'm not gonna say that the Knicks will sweep them, but I'm sure they can get a game. But yeah, this is not gonna be the type of team you're not gonna take lightly if you have to face them. So. If you're in New York, hopefully, Julius Randle can come back and try to get out of that 4 spot.
Yeah, and also too, I'm just interested to see, no matter what happens at the end of the season, I want to see what Orlando does this summer. What type of trades they're going to make, and will their management? First of all, it's going to start with their front office. Is this the time to bring in that veteran or two to get that team to the next level? Because you can have all the top young stars, but you want to go to the next level, you're going to have to make a couple of tough decisions.
They may have to get rid of some of that core if they want to get that big name. So interesting to see what they do here. But yeah, it's nice to see that they are, like I said, first 40-win season, in 6 years. So yeah, I mean, things looking up for the Magic. So it's going to be interesting there. Of course, Boston, they become the first team to clinch a playoff spot. Milwaukee, Cleveland, the Knicks, the Magic, the Pacers. Those are your top 6 right now in the East. And of course, you got the Heat, the Sixers, the Bulls, and the Hawks. Now, just that so like that's depending on any one of these 4 teams collapsing. I think those are going to be your 4, unless Embiid comes back for the Sixers. Maybe they can kind of bump up a little bit. You want to try to get out of that play-in if you're the Sixers. So it's going to be kind of interesting to see what they do here.
Right now, Philadelphia is at number 8 right now, followed by Miami at number 7. Of course, Indiana is at number 6. They're out of the play-in right now. There will be top 6. They don't have to play in the play-in. But the one team that I worry about in that top 4, Lakina, is the Cleveland Cavaliers. We talked about them having another bad loss last night. I know that they've been dealing with injuries to their stars all year, Darius Garland and Donovan Mitchell. But I'm worried about them if they're going to be healthy in time. Enough in time to get ready for the playoffs, because what we saw last year against the New York Knicks, it was terrible, and they got embarrassed. But I understand to a lesser extent that it was Donovan Mitchell's first year there, and they caught the Knicks at the wrong time. But this year, I know they still have a good record. They're 42-25 right now, number 3 in the East. But I'm kind of starting to worry about them. If they have another playoff performance like they did last year, do you think that Donovan Mitchell may consider other options? Because I believe he's a free agent after next season.
Yeah, after next season. So I'm wondering, like, if things kind of go south for the Cavs and they lose in the first round, I wouldn't be surprised if he said, "Look, get me out of here," because he's still under contract with them, till next year, because of course of that trade from Utah. But I'm interested to see what he does. But yeah, it's gonna get might get a little dicey down there in Cleveland. Now, as for the Western Conference, real quick, of course, OKC and the Nuggets and the T-Wolves, they're now within 1 game of each other for the number 1 spot. So still a lot to be decided there. Of course, you got the Clippers. If you're the Clippers, you want to try to stay in that top 4 because you don't want to have to go on the road, especially. So they're not a very good road team. So if you're, they kind of have a pretty even number. But I think if you rather you're a veteran squad like the Clippers, you want to try to get that home court. Then you got the Pelicans at 5, Kings at 6. Then you got the play-in section. You got the Mavs, the Suns, the Warriors, and the Lakers in that order.
Yeah, I think the Mavs can do some damage here to get a nice little win streak going between now and the end of the season. They can move out of that play-in tournament scenario. We saw what they can do when healthy. We saw, of course, the miraculous shot by Kyrie Irving yesterday. Luka Doncic is having another great year. Like we said this last year, Lakina, we'll say it again. Hopefully he doesn't tire out before the playoffs, because Dallas is going to need him. But you need other guys to step up. I think P.J. Washington has done a nice job for that team, especially within the interior. Also to Daniel Gafford, of course, a one-time Chicago Bull. The Dallas Mavericks need some toughness inside. They got that in those 2 players. So hopefully that Dallas can get a nice win streak going here. I can see them moving up a spot or 2. Like we said a couple of minutes ago, the New Orleans Pelicans are doing it very quietly. And if you're the Clippers, or you can say to a lesser extent the Minnesota Timberwolves, if they stay number 3, you don't want to play the Pelicans in the first round. You definitely don't want to play Dallas either if they move out of that 7th spot.
Yeah, about 13, 14, 15 games left, depending on which team you're talking about. So a lot to be decided here. So yeah, we got about like a month left, give or take. So gonna get interesting in both conferences. And that's still have to be decided there. So seeding is gonna be very key, especially come playoff time. All right, more sports, more fun after this break. We're going to talk some March Madness, and a local team also will be going to play some postseason basketball. We'll also talk some women's college hoops as well. They're starting their tournament later this week as well. Blackhawks got a nice win against the Lonely Sharks, and a special March Madness movie edition of Old School TV Monday.
Spoiler alert.
Yeah, sorry. Yeah, a little spoiler there, a little clue there, so you guys can figure that out. You guys are smart listeners and viewers, so you guys can figure out what we're talking about here. But a lot of fun, still to do coming up. Lakina McGee, Senior Valley Second City Sports, Sports of Chicago. More sports and more fun coming up right after this.
This year, my mom got me the perfect bag for back to school.
These colorful binders help me stay organized.
These headphones are just what I need for studying.
These new sneakers are just what I need for the new year.
This jacket is a real must-have.
My parents got me the skateboard I wanted. It's pretty cool.
These scissors really come in handy in art class.
These colored pencils, too. These new socks? They can be a real lifesaver.
And I finally got my own phone to stay in touch with my mom.
Trisha's having a sleepover tonight. Can I go?
I wonder about Lucy's friends. What should I say? I know you're only 10, but one of these days a friend will offer you a drink. And alcohol at your age can lead to so many things. None of them good.
So can I go to the sleepover?
Lucy, I want you to promise me
I
something.
finished my homework.
Bigger promise. If there's any drinking, I want you to say, "No thanks, not my thing."
Mom.
I promise you. Your real friends won't care. Deal?
Sure.
Really?
I promise, Mom.
They really do hear you.
Did you pack your toothbrush?
For tips on how to start the talk, visit underagedrinking.samhsa.gov, a public service message from the Substance Abuse and Mental Health Services Administration.
Hey, this is Dr. J, and I listen to Sean and Maya in the morning.
Welcome back to the Monday edition of Second City Sports. We're live in the living color right here on Sports Zone Chicago. I'm Sid, that's Lakina. You can follow yours truly on the Twitter, X, and the IG at SidKid80. Once again, it's SidKid80. That's SIDKID80. That's SIDKID80.
You can follow me, Keena McGee, on the Twitter, X, and Q, again, the IG.
We have less than a half hour left of this extravaganza we call it Sports Talk Radio Show. If you have any last minute questions or comments for us, you can always hit us up at Sports Zone Chicago's Facebook page or at Sports Zone Chicago on YouTube. Type in those questions or comments in the comments section. Lakina will get them up on the screen for you.
Okay, Sid. Some of the schedule for the tournament came out late last night. Of course, we did our Selection Sunday bracketology special. It's on the YouTube channel and the Twitter X as well, so you guys can check that out. Of course, you got the first 4 games going on Tuesday and Wednesday in Dayton. It'll be interesting to see kind of like the schedule's kind of interesting. So tell us about some of the. We're not gonna go game by game, obviously. We're just gonna go some like the top games.
Yeah, the Illinois and Morehead State game will take place on Thursday at 2:10 p.m. from Omaha, Nebraska. That's going to be seen on True TV. And on Friday, the 8-9 matchup, Northwestern will face Florida Atlantic from Brooklyn, New York. That game can be seen on CBS. That's Friday at 11 a.m. Central Standard Time. Like Lakina said, if you missed our March Madness Sunday selection show, you can go to Sports on Chicago's YouTube page, Sports on Chicago on Facebook, and Sports on Chicago on Roku TV to catch our deep dive there. But we'll give you guys the we call it the the Cliff Notes version, as we talked about with Kenny McReynolds earlier from WCIU in our last hour. When Illinois plays defense like that, Lakina, and they use their athleticism, especially on the fast break, they're a tough team to beat. And I expect them to do that in this first game against Morehead State. But if they face a potential opponent in the second round. I think they'll face the winner between Duquesne and BYU. If they have to face BYU, BYU will give them a tough test, but I expect Illinois to win that one as well. I think Illinois, like Kenny said, can go to the Sweet 16, at least on paper. But I expect this tournament to be crazy this year. We saw what Illinois could do these last two games. Terrence Shannon Jr. has been the Illinois' best player all season long. But I expect a lot of leadership, especially as that senior leadership from Coleman Hawkins. I know his scoring has tailed off over these last 3 or 4 games, but I expect him to do more starting on Thursday.
Yeah, and it'll be interesting to see if but like I said, I mean, look, do I think they can lose to Morehead State? I'm not saying that they will, but I think Morehead State's been one of those teams. They always give teams fits when they come to the tournament. So I would say don't take them lightly. That's all I'm going to say about that. Now, Northwestern plays their first game, coming out the gate on Friday. They face Florida Atlantic. That's a tough matchup for Northwestern because, like I said, Florida Atlantic, you can go like a good 10, 12 deep. They can kind of like switch things up a little bit with their defense. If they're not hitting their threes, talking about Northwestern, as they're going to need Boo Boo to kind of, I'm not going to say he needs to take this team on his back, but they need to, as he goes sort of Northwestern, they're really going to need a big game from him on Friday to kind of, try to, make this interesting in this game against the Owls.
Also, too, Boo Boo is going to need some assistance. Is it Barnheiser? Is it some of the other guys that haven't played that much so far this year? I know Chris Collins has done a masterful job with that Northwestern squad, dealing with the injuries and dealing with the different lineups. So, as he said in his presser yesterday following their rally, the Northwestern got what they deserved in a good way for having an outstanding season. Of course, they tied the most Big Ten wins in a season with 12. And like you said, it's going to be a tough matchup against Florida Atlantic. I think they're going to give Florida Atlantic all that they can handle, but I think that depth of that FAU team is going to come back to eventually hurt Northwestern at the end.
They'll have Iron Eagle, Bill Raftery, Grant Hill, two-time national champion Tracy Wilson. Of course,
with the English or something like
that. Yes, something like that. Of course, that's the number one team for them. That game will be on CBS at about 11:20-ish Chicago time. Give or take. I know the coverage starts at about 11 here. Some of the kind of top games that I think might be interesting. You got New Mexico and Clemson. That's going to be the afternoon games on True TV. Our buddy Spiro Diaz will have the call with Jim Spernarkel and John Rothstein. That should be a fun one there. Of course, you got Florida against the winner of the Boise State Colorado matchup. That's on Wednesday, so that should be an interesting matchup there. Kevin Harlan, Dan Bonner, Stan Van Gundy, and Andy Cass will have the call for that game on TBS. Let's see here. Texas A&M, Nebraska. Of course, that's the nightcap. Our buddy Spiro will have the call there. That should be a good matchup. What's another one? Should be a good one. Like I said, James Madison, Wisconsin. Like I said, look, don't be surprised if you see GMU. Remember, they upset Michigan State earlier this year, so that's going to be the nightcap. They're TCU and Utah State. That should be a fun one. That's going to be the 8:55. Well, approximately 8:55. I guess depending on the timing and such. Grand Canyon, St. Mary's. That's going to be a good one as well. Some of the games for Friday.
Yeah, just looking at some of these matchups as we talked about last night, Lakina, I'm with you with the James Madison in Wisconsin being an upset. James Madison definitely has a shot, but I'm looking at the Midwest region where Kansas is ranked number 4. I know they've been dealing with injuries throughout the last few weeks, and they will be taking on Samford. That's SAMFORD. They check in with the 29-5 record. They're ranked number 13 in this Midwest region bracket. I know technically it will go down as an upset if Samford could pull it off, but if you're Kansas, if you're looking at that Kansas situation, diving deep into it, it won't be so much of an upset only because of their injury situation.
Yeah, not a lot of depth there. It looks like McCullers, although Hunter Dickinson, it looks like he might not play in the tournament. I know both of them been banged up. I know McCullers been banged up all season on and off. And I mean, would it be a big shot at Samford, put off the upset against Kansas? I wouldn't be shocked. I mean, it's especially the way they ended the season lost early in the Big 12 tournament. Just got dominated by Cincy, and yeah, it doesn't look good for the Jayhawks. They might surprise some folks. So Brad Nessler, former North Carolina St. Albert, and Haywood, and Dana James will have the call there for CBS.
Another
CBS, I should say.
Another 12-5 matchup we talked about last night. I want to give our thoughts here on this platform on the Daily Show. In the Midwest region, number 5 Gonzaga, who got in as an at-large bid, even though they lost twice to St. Mary's in the West Coast Conference. They'll take on McNeese, formerly known as McNeese State. They are 30-3 on the year. They're ranked number 12 in the Midwest region. Of course, McNeese State is one of 4 teams to have 30 wins or more in this college basketball season. Lakina, Gonzaga, they were a bubble team midway through the year. And like we said, they lost in the West Coast Conference in that title game to St. Mary's. And I think that's going to hurt them eventually down the road. They may, even if they did get by McNeese State, I don't see them going far because they'll have to face Kansas potentially in the next game. But if they get to that regional final within around the 16-8, they'll eventually have to get by Purdue. And I just don't see this Gonzaga team making it that far.
Well, like I said, I mean, McNeese is one of the teams that can shoot the 3 well, so they can kill you for both inside and outside. So and they play fast, so Gonzaga better be ready for them. And like I said before, I would say don't be surprised if we see this 12-5 upset because I think this Gonzaga team, look, like I said, that Kentucky win on the road saved their rears. It basically saved their season. So that, to me, they shouldn't have gotten in it had it not been Kentucky. I know they did beat St. Mary's on the road, but still, that was their first quad, whatever you want to call it, 1-2, whatever. So Gonzaga, I don't see them going far this year. Duquesne and BYU. Now, Keith Cameron, who's the coach at Duquesne, of course, this is Duquesne's first trip to the Big Dance all the way back to 1977. He announced his retirement, so you wonder, are his players going to rally, behind him and perhaps maybe pull off the upset against BYU?
With this tournament every year, anything is possible. As I said on our show last night, BYU, I checked in on them a couple of times throughout the season. Of course, this was their first season in the Big 12. Considering all the circumstances, I thought they did very well, even though they did bow out the conference tournament early. I thought they did very well. 23-10 is nothing to sneeze at in the first year of a big conference that you're now a part of. Like I said, Duquesne, they held up VCU yesterday to capture the Atlantic 10 tournament title. So anything's possible there. And like you said, I think that could be a potential high-scoring game as well. I want to go back to that West regional bracket, Lakina, and get your thoughts on these two potential upsets. The 12-5 matchup, Grand Canyon will face St. Mary's. That's the 12-5 matchup. And the 13-4 matchup, the College of Charleston, they'll face number 4 Alabama.
Yeah, that's going to be a tough go for Alabama. Charleston, like I said, College of Charleston is they give teams fits. They've been doing that. They did it last year. So they better stay on their toes. So don't take them lightly because they're a team that could definitely kind of catch you sleeping. Now, as far as Grand Canyon's concerned, Bryce Dew's doing a great job basically building that program from the. I know Dan Marley did it for a little bit, but he couldn't get to the tournament. This is their third straight trip with Coach Drew at the helm. And like I said, St. Mary's, this could, like I said, both these teams can shoot the 3 very well. So this could be the battle of the 3-point shot and who can hit those for that in this game.
In a note for the College of Charleston, when they score 80 points or more, they are 20-0.
They're undefeated this year when they score 80. So don't let them score 80. That's the key here if you're Alabama. So be interesting what happens there, of course. Oregon and South Carolina. Now, Oregon got in thanks to their tournament. That's Nufani. I want to make sure I get his name right. So you say his name. You say it better than I do, Sid.
Infala Dante.
Dante, South Carolina, look, he was perfect throughout the Pac-12 tournament. Of course, he was the most valuable player there. And they're going to have, he's a big man up, but he can also shoot the 3 as well. So South Carolina's going to have a lot, Lamont Paris is going to have make sure to have his Gamecocks ready for him.
Yeah, and also too, I want to focus in on this other matchup from the Midwest region, TCU versus Utah State in that 8-9 matchup. Usually, sometimes it's a 7-10 matchup as well. It depends on the opponents, but those 8-9 matchups are toss-ups as well. I know TCU struggled a bit this year, but they gave the top teams in the Big 12 all day. They can handle their 21-12. What can you tell us about Utah State? I know you are West Coast bureau chief when it comes to college sports. Do they have a chance
I think
against
Utah State.
TCU?
Well, look. I mean, this is an 8-9 matchup, so yeah, they're kind of pretty even. Like I said, I mean, this could be one of those games where it's gonna be first to perhaps maybe 80, I guess, or 90, because we know both these teams can shoot very well. They can. Yeah, I know they had a tough go at it against San Diego State on Saturday. That was a tough loss for them. They just couldn't get it going with the 3-point line. Like I said, another one of these teams that when they shoot their threes, you're tough to beat. So it could be a 3-point again. Another game where it could be a 3-point shooting contest. Maybe first to 80 or 90, perhaps wins it. But this should be another. This should be a really good 8-9 matchup. Now, speaking of 7-10s, Nevada and Dayton. Now, some people say that neither one of these, one or both these teams should not have gotten in. So it's gonna be interesting to see how both these teams use this as motivation. But yeah, I think Nevada's been really good this year. They've kind of been on the come up. Dayton, with Anthony Grad at the helm, they've been really solid the last few years. Got in, perhaps maybe some people feel they probably shouldn't have. But they've been, consistent. They had a great non-conference schedule. So these two teams are both battle tested. So this should be a fun one. I think it's the West. No, that's the Midwest region for that game.
Yeah, give Steve Alpha credit, the head coach of the Nevada Wolfpack. He's quietly got that program back on track. I know he's had his issues going back to Iowa. We won't get into it here. That's old news, but he's quietly got that program back on the map.
Yeah, absolutely. So these are just some very entertaining games coming up this week. Even with starting with the first four. I know technically it doesn't start yet, but you still got some time to fill out your brackets. You got till Thursday, but yeah, these should be some good games coming up.
Yeah, just a couple of games real quick. I know we have to move on. I want to focus in on these matchups in the South Regional. You'll have Texas Tech versus NC State in the 11-6 matchup. I'm Brian, the hot hand in NC State. 5 games in 5 days to capture the ACC tournament title. Of course, DJ Horn, one of the guards, is one of the best in the conference. And, of course, DJ Burns, all of 275 pounds of him. He could play defensive tackle for the Chicago Bears if he wants to, but he's their big beast, no pun intended, inside. In my opinion, he was the best player in the ACC tournament.
Yeah, like I said, it's going to be good. Fatigue is going to be an issue for them. They play Thursday, so they'll have a little bit of a shot. But yeah, I think it's going to be interesting if they can keep it up.
And do you see an upset here in the 15-2 matchup in the South region? Western Kentucky against Marquette? I don't think so.
No, but I've seen Western Kentucky play a few times, and look, that's a veteran squad, and they can definitely. I'm not gonna say, like I said, I think Shaka Smart will have his guys ready. Don't take the Hilltoppers lightly. I said it last night. I'm gonna keep saying it until they play on Friday. So yeah, it's gonna be not gonna say it's gonna happen, but yeah, that'll be an interesting game there. Like I said, you can catch the NCAA tournament. Well, starting tomorrow with the True TV with the first 4 matchups, Tuesday and Wednesday. Then the real tournament starts on Thursday on CBS. Then we'll continue on through TNT, True TV, and TBS. So those who are on True TV, I'm sure they're going to be posting some stuff right before tomorrow to make sure you know where True TV is in your cable streaming or satellite system.
All right. You're listening to Second City Sports on Chicago City. Lakina hanging out here with you. We still have a few minutes left before we go to the special edition of Old School TV Monday. Lakina, the women's brackets for the NCAA tournament were also revealed last night. Tell us about it.
Yeah, you got Iowa, USC, and defending champion LSU in the same region. Sometimes I do that intentionally. I don't know, but it'll be interesting to see. You got, I think, Texas is the #1 seed. It's gonna be interesting to see. They've earned it, so I think that's gonna be a tough out. It'll be interesting to see if we get kind of like that. People were wondering, should they have the Iowa LSU matchup in the Elite Eight? Well, look, some teams may have something to say about that, but yeah, I think the women's tournament is gonna be very wide open. Hopefully, Caitlin Clark, this is like the one thing that's missing from her resume is a national championship. So this is her last shot to do it. She already said she's going to the WNBA. So for me, it's really gonna depend on which teams show up because, like the men's side, I think it's pretty wide open.
I'll say this as a casual women's college basketball watcher. I'm glad that the games are on ESPN this year, but I know they've been doing it the last few years. I know some of the games, at least on Saturdays and I believe Sundays too, some of those games are going to be on ABC, which I think is phenomenal. Hopefully, if they get South Carolina, Iowa, or LSU, those games, if they could put at least a couple of those games on ABC, I would appreciate it.
Mm-hmm.
That'll grow more of your viewership because let's be honest here, with casual fans like yours truly here, you watching those three teams: Iowa, South Carolina, and LSU. At least I am.
Yeah, you got Juju Watkins from USC. Of course, they win the Pac-12, beating Stanford, so they got that #1 seed over them. You got a very young USC squad, so we'll see what they can do. No Illinois teams this year, so no DePaul, no Illinois, and Northwestern. No Northwestern. They made the tournament a couple times in recent years on the women's side, but yeah, you can watch the games on ESPN and also on ABC and ESPN Family and Networks as well. Now, real quick before we go to our a little Blackhawks talk real quick, I want to give a shout out to the men's team from Chicago State. They're going to play some postseason basketball. They're going to be playing in the CBI tournament, which is another tournament after the NIT. They face San Diego. No, not San Diego State. They're the main tournament. I'm talking about San Diego State. I'm talking about San Diego. They're coached by a familiar name, Mr. Steve Lavin. He's kind of got that program on the up and up. Gonna be tough though for the Cougars because they haven't played in about a month. So you're gonna wonder there's gonna be a little bit of there might be a little bit cold, a little bit rusty. So yeah, that'll be interesting. But yeah, congrats to Chicago State.
Yes, Southside, Chicago's real Southside team. Everyone talking about Northwestern being Chicago's Big Ten team, but Chicago's real team resides on the South Side, 95th and King Drive, Chicago State. Congrats to them.
Yeah, absolutely. So, real quick, of course, the Blackhawks. This is XD Sports and Sports Chicago. The Kim McGee around with you. Of course, the Blackhawks got a nice win against the San Jose Sharks. I know they're kind of been they've been kind of been blah the last few years, but even still, I mean, a really great show. But not just Bedard, but a lot of young guys on that team as well.
Yeah, Connor Bedard scored his 21st goal last night, and I know it was St. Patrick's Day there at the UC, so a lot of festive. It was a festive atmosphere, and they didn't wear their green uniforms for what I understood. Usually they wear it to warm-ups. They didn't do it this year. I didn't see it, so I read that somewhere over the weekend. But like we talked about for the last couple of weeks, Lakina, you're starting to see this team play with some toughness. Give Luke Richardson, the head coach of the Blackhawks, credit for it. And they don't have the record to show for as far as being a good team, but we knew that going into the season. But I think this team is moving forward in the right direction. We'll see what moves Kyle Davidson makes this summer, what prospects will be brought up for next year. So you don't want to have the whole Rockford Ice Hogs on your NHL roster, which they don't. But the way this foundation is being set, you kind of feel proud of what the Blackhawks are doing. I know their record doesn't speak for itself in terms of results, but last year we knew what they were because they were stripping it down, getting that #1 pick, which turned out it worked. So it's all about building that foundation and eventually getting some stars to go with Connor Bedard for years to come.
Yeah, you got Nick Foligno, who is kind of like that veteran. I know people say that he's kind of like the father figure on that team, and I'm sure he doesn't like when people say that, but but he kind of is. So we're just see do they add another veteran to kind of like help him out, to kind of like be that leader, that presence in the locker room. So yeah, I think Kyle Davis is gonna be interesting with what he decides to do because, like you said, you don't want the whole Rockford Ice Hogs roster, but you kind of have to mix up a little bit. So we'll see if by next year he makes the moves. How about Davison, for the Hawks to at least compete for a playoffs? I'm not gonna say they're gonna win the division, but to at least compete, for a spot in the playoffs, kind of like that those lower tier spots.
Yeah, like I said, I still give them 3 years, including this year, because this year was a wash as far as making the playoffs. We knew that, but I'm giving this franchise 2 more years to be, like you said, a competitive team to perhaps make it to the playoffs. Stanley Cup, not yet. But to make the playoffs, if they stay with this plan, I think in 2 years they could be a knocking on the door for a playoff spot.
Should be interesting though. But like I said, even the rest of the season, as long as they play hard and Bedard keeps playing better, that's all you can ask for if you're a Blackhawks fan.
Yeah.
And anything else NHL wise before we go into old school? Well, actually, I got a couple of sports media news, but yeah, before we go to old school TV Monday, real quick.
Go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, look, Boston's looked really good. I know the Rangers. I know they had a they had a tough. They've won a couple of. I think they've won like 10 of the last like 13 or something like that. They've looked really good. Carolina has looked pretty good. The Avs. So I think look, they're almost there in their playoffs. They're kind of like in that like 14, 15 games left for their playoffs. So should be interesting to see what happens, especially for the number 1 seed.
Yeah, as we said before at various points throughout the year, that Western Conference in the NHL is pretty wide open. You mentioned Dallas. I know they reached the Stanley Cup final. I believe it was in the COVID year a few years ago. I know they lost last year in the Western final to the Las Vegas Golden Knights. You still had to put Vegas in the mix. Colorado, I still think they're a sneaky team if they're healthy come playoff time. And they still may be able to represent the Western Conference, but that's going to be a bloodbath, no pun intended, come Stanley Cup playoff time. In the East, it's all about the Rangers. It's all about Boston. I still say keep your eye on Florida, especially after they acquired Vladimir Tarasenko. Of course, they lost to Vegas in the Stanley Cup final last year, so I'm looking at those 3 teams in the East. But the Western Conference, it should be fun come playoff time because it's going to be a hell of a war out there.
Yes,
for those top teams, at least those top 4 or 5 teams that I mentioned.
Well, speaking of Dallas, you'll be happy to know that it did honor Mike Modano over the weekend. They unveiled a statue.
I saw that, yes.
That was really cool. Of course, he won a cup down there in Dallas. And that was actually, it actually kind of looks like him. That's a little kind of, I know you took a couple of pictures. I know his older kids thought it was hilarious. So, nice to see that. And look, it makes you feel old knowing that they're honoring these guys. Jaromir Jagr. They still haven't found his bobbleheads yet for the update there.
We got to get Rachel Kopchik on the case.
Yeah, maybe we get her on. I know I saw her Instagram. I know she's on the case too. Of course, they honor Mike Modano as well. Of course, the Dallas Stars did. So feeling old, folks, but but congrats to them. They deserve all the praise and all the flowers.
Yes. Congrats to those 2 gentlemen. Any sports media nuggets you say you wanted to get to?
Well, LeBron James and JJ Redick are going to be doing a podcast together on basketball.
I saw that. At least I saw the headline anyway.
Yeah, I guess it's going to be with LeBron's production company. And, of course, we know that JJ Redick has his own podcast. He did that. I think he still does it occasionally. I know he's been doing that. Has not been doing it much since joining ESPN again. But should be an interesting podcast. I guess they're going to talk about basketball and all levels, and it should be interesting, I guess.
Yeah, JJ Redick is a deep thinker. He really knows the game of basketball. Obviously, played it at a high level at Duke and college. Of course, he played it for 10 plus years in the NBA for various teams, and he's been an interesting. I'm not gonna say trash talker, but he has had some interesting takes, going on First Take with Stephen A. Smith. I loved it personally because he puts Stephen A. Smith in his place sometimes, but he has some deep thoughts about sports and about basketball in particular. So he's not afraid to mix it up with the big boys. I want to see what he does here in this project.
Yeah, I actually like his take. So, he kind of makes you think. You may not always agree with him, but he does make you think. So, like, okay, he actually does have a point here. So,
exactly. I like people like that. Whether you agree with them or not, do they have a point and do they make you think?
Yeah, that's all you can ask for.
Yeah.
All right. Here's the Second City Sports on Sports Show Chicago. Lakina McGee, City Brown with you. And about this time, we do Old School TV Monday, but we're going to the movies this week. Sid, where are we going to?
We are saluting the 2006 American sports drama film directed by James Gardner, Glory Road. That's right. It was based on a true story surrounding the events leading to the 1966 NCAA University Division Basketball Championship. Don Haskins, portrayed by Josh Lucas, head coach of the Texas Western College, now known as the University of Texas El Paso, or UTEP, coached the team with an all-black starting lineup, first in NCAA history. Glory Road explores racism, discrimination in student athletics. Supporting actors John Voight and Derek Liu also starred in principal roles. The film was a co-production between the motion picture studios of Walt Disney and Jerry Bruckheimer Films, Texas Western Productions, and Glory Road Productions. It was commercially distributed by Buena Vista Pictures theatrically in the Buena Vista home entertainment division for the video rental market. It premiered in theaters nationwide in the U.S. on January 3rd, 2006, grossing over $42 million in the box office and mixed reviews from critics. Glory Road was nominated for a number of awards, including the Humanitas Prize, and the film also won the 2006 ESPY Award for Best Sports Movie.
Yeah, that's when they had that category. I think they dissolved that category a couple years later. But the movie itself, I think, was a really solid movie. I know some people thought it didn't go far enough. That's probably why it got mixed reviews. But I think Josh Lewis did a great job as Coach Haskins. He's from Arkansas. He said he knew the history of it. Of course, being from the South, of course, it's kind of like a requirement to learn about that history. And the game itself, I think, taking the chances on that. They couldn't stay those 5 black players on that team. They couldn't stay in the same hotels as some of their white teammates and their coach. And I know that I remember Coach Haskins said in interviews that it was a struggle because he literally had to fight to get his guys to stay in those same hotels because they were segregated. Shocker, some of those southern towns. And you saw the struggles of it and everything else. Derek Luke played one of the star players, Bobby Joe Hill. Of course, sadly, he passed away. I'm talking about not Luke, but Bobby Joe Hill. He passed away a few years back. I think only 2 guys that are left from that lineup are still with us. I know one of them, David Layton. I think that's how you say his name. He's a starting center there. He still lives down there in Houston. I think he still goes to UTEP games occasionally. And I think I saw him about a month ago. But yeah, I mean, it was a really solid movie. I liked it. Pat Riley, I think, was also made an appearance in that movie.
Yeah.
Where he was part of the Kentucky team, the starting lineup, and if you ask him now, I think he said that literally changed his mind and perspective on a lot of things because he grew up at a time when Adolph Rupp didn't want to recruit black players.
Yeah,
and
that's the truth.
Yeah, and then I'm not making that up. And Coach Wright always thought that was wrong. And when he said when he started coaching, he didn't want to have that mindset. So that game, especially them losing to Texas Western, he said that woke up. He said, "No, I'm not doing that." So, and to his credit, Adolph Rupp, that actually got him to start recruiting black players.
Yeah, and also too, the actual coach for Texas Western played the gas attendant in that movie as well. I know he passed away a few years ago, so he did a great job in that. But looking at that movie, Lakina, at that time, you think about the stories about those black players getting that treatment, being treated as second and third class citizens. Remember, I know he passed away, I believe, last year, but Bill Russell, his stories about. He couldn't stay with his own teammates with the Boston Celtics and other black players as well during that time when they traveled to cities, especially down south. I think it was the city of Missouri in St. Louis or Kentucky. I forgot one of those cities, but they gave the key to the city to Bill Russell. And he said, "I'm not taking it. You can shove it where you got it from." I'm just being polite.
That's what you said.
Exactly. How them just being polite for this broadcast. But even though some of that history was ugly and Lakina, and some of it was hard to look at, but I appreciate it because we all, even as adults, had to be reminded of what happened in the past. And we also had to teach our young people what happened too, because there's not to get too deep with this, but there are so many people that are trying to erase history or trying to change it to make it a Walt Disney-like type story, make it a fantasy. Oh, it wasn't that bad. This actually happens. Like, no, you cannot change history. Even though some of it is ugly, if you don't learn from the past, history tends to repeat itself. That's just in life in general.
I keep thinking about Charlie Scott. Of course, he played for North Carolina. Dean Smith, God rest his soul, fought very hard to get him to, play because he said he wanted to start recruiting black players. He saw some of the games he was coaching in the South, and it took a lot of fighting, within the brass down there in Chapel Hill because. Of course, we all remember that the sit-in, lunch counter sit-in that happened in North Carolina, and and all that, and and Charlie Scott has said in recent interview. I know he's converted to Islam, so I think he changed his name, but I saw that in recent years. But he was very his teammates, made the best they could to try to make him comfortable because he knew that he still couldn't stay in those hotels, eat in the same restaurants as some of his teammates. And I know that was a struggle for him as well. So think about them. Think about him. Think about Jackie Robinson, of course, he went to UCLA. Go figure. They still, Los Angeles had their issues with racism back then as well. So, think about all those folks that kind of like broke the mold and broke the way. And this Texas Western squad is still. I'm glad they have not forgotten about that team because I know that, like I said, I know like three of the five guys that were in that lineup, are no longer with us. But it's good that they're still remembered. I think they got a statue of that of Coach Haskins and that whole team, and the movie kind of mirror that.
Yes, you can actually watch the entire game on the March Madness channel here on YouTube. I'm talking about that Texas Western Kentucky game. It's about an hour long, and so it's worth your time to watch it. And you can watch Glory Road on all streaming platforms, I should say. Yeah, you're going to have to pay for it, but it's worth it, I promise you.
Yeah, it's definitely going to be worth the time. So we salute for Old School TV Monday, the movie edition, or the cinema edition, however you want to say it. The 2006 basketball drama, fact-based drama, Glory Road.
All right. Makina, take us home.
You can follow Makina McGee on the Twitter, X, and the IG.
You can follow your Shirley Sidney Brown on the Twitter, X, and the IG at SidKid80. Once again, it's SidKid80. That's SIDKID80. That's SIDKID80. Make sure you download that Sports Zone Chicago app wherever you get your apps. Please follow Sports Zone Chicago on all social media platforms. Please subscribe to our podcast. We are located at War Media Podcast. That's WARR Media, PODCASTS. We are on all podcast platforms, including the iHeartRadio app. And while you're ready, please give War Media a follow at WARR Media on all social media platforms. So thank you very much in advance for your support.
Like, share, subscribe, and tell your friends.
Catch Second City Sports live in the 11 color every Monday, every Friday from noon to 2 p.m. Central Standard Time right here on Sports Zone Chicago. One more again, as the kids would say. Catch Second City Sports live in the 11 color every Monday, every Friday from noon to 2 p.m. Central Standard Time right here on Sports Zone Chicago.
And, of course, you can catch Sports Zone Chicago anytime, anywhere on the Roku TV app, whatever device you got, whatever Play Store that you use. Just go to Roku TV App Store. Just type in Sports Zone Chicago. It's all right there. You can catch Sean and Maya, ourselves, of course, the Smoke Fellas. What's up, cuz? I'm sure they're gonna have their thoughts on the Justin Fields trade tonight at 6. So make sure you guys check that out and check out all the episodes anytime, anywhere.
And we will provide.
All right, folks, enjoy the start of the tournament and these last few weeks of the NBA and the NHL. And, of course, we got spring training baseball.
Thank you, Kenny McReynolds, for joining us today from WCIU.
Yes, can't forget about Mr. McReynolds. He was wonderful. Definitely going to have him on again very soon. So, again, enjoy the March Madness. Well, the start of March Madness anyway on the men's and women's side. Baseball, spring training, they're finishing up as well. Of course, the NBA and college and NHL as well finish up their seasons and a whole lot more. So enjoy the sports, everyone. Be good to each other and stay safe. For Sid, I'm the kids of Second City Sports on Sports of Chicago, and we'll see you Friday.
Go Illini. Holla!